First, we create a new project. Provide a name and select IMF app to extend it. We recommend to go to the settings and set some so-called track defaults for Netflix packaging for color spaces. Please select our RGBP 3D 65 PQ for both the source and destination. Select Ultra HD for the default out of box and 44440 fold sub, same thing. Next, we start to ingest pictures like the Meridian sequence as well as the Netflix presentation card. Since we defined all the defaults, the IMF project defaults, previously, there's no need to adjust anything here. Next, we go to ingest the sound files like the 5.1 file for the Meridian sequence as well as the stereo file for the Meridian sequence. We can now place the content in the timeline. We start with the presentation card and then take the Meridian sequence. A second segment of the timeline can place the 5.1 and the stereo sound files for the Meridian sequence and then ingest the Dolby Vision metadata track files. First, the ones for the Meridian sequence. Place it in the timeline, and then just in the Dolby Vision metadata track for the Netflix presentation card. Regarding to the documentation, we know we have two black frames at the beginning at the end of the Netflix presentation card, as well at the end of the Meridian sequence. For those, we go to the presentation card, click right mouse button, and select pre-append black frames. In the upcoming dialog, we select append for 1 second and click OK. As you can see in the timeline, we now have 1 second of black frames with a Dolby Vision metadata track. We repeat these steps to pre-append black frames. Again, 1 second. As you can see, we now have pre-appended black frame sequence. Next, we have to add the silent soundtracks for the presentation card, as well as the black frames at the beginning of the sequence. For this, we go to the track and add soundtrack, select 5.1 and mute all the channels. Select 24 frames for 1 second of silence. And do the same for 96 frames to have 4 seconds of silence for the presentation card.
And you can repeat this for a silent stereo track file. For 24 frames, you'll have 1 second of silence. And if you do this for 96 frames, you'll have 4 seconds of silence.
So we can now place the stereo and the 5.1 silence files according to the length on the timeline. Now we just have to take care about the 1 second of black frames at the end of the Meridian sequence for this. For this, we go to the Meridian sequence, click the right mouse button and select pre-append black frames for 1 second. And then we go. We have 1 second of black frames with silence, and we have a Dolby Vision mediator trick. Next, we set the locale of the language for the soundtrack files for E and US. We do this for all soundtrack files, and then we can create our first IMF package for this. For this, we go to Generate Package, In this example, select an output folder for the package. Define the data rate to 800 megabits per second. Check the summary and click Generate.